Our guest on Perspectives today is Gail Castrilla, 44 years in social work in various capacities and is just retiring. And hello, Gail, and congratulations.
Thank you.
So, first of all, should I mention where we first met? Do you remember?
Sure. Because I was going to tell if you didn't.
Kindergarten.
Yes. Yes.
So that was 4 or 5 years ago, 10, 11 years ago, something like that.
Yeah. And I still think of you as Bobby, little Bobby Lisa.
Isn't that wonderful? So did you always want to get into social work, helping others, or, I don't know, do you want to be an astronaut or what?
I didn't know what I wanted to be, but at Edgewood High School, because I moved from Conneaut, where I went to school with you, to the suburbs, North Kingsville,
right,
and went to Buckeye schools. Vic Rossetti was a high school teacher that taught sociology and psychology. And I think they had just started offering it. And I was crazy about those classes. First, he was a great teacher, but it was the subject just set me on fire. And I thought, this is what I like.
So then you've worked at a lot of different capacities since then. Most recently at Signature Health, which I took the grand tour a few years ago, and that is a beautiful place to work. Oh. They really did a nice job renovating it.
Mm-hmm. Yes, it's gorgeous.
So what did you do there?
Well, I got to walk down a marble staircase every day.
Yeah.
So that was pretty fun. I started out as a counselor working with both adults and children, but I really had a special interest in working with kids. And then I got into some program development there, and we created a school-based mental health program, and I worked in the schools for several years. And
was that all schools you're talking about, or was this when you were working at Ashtabula schools?
This was when I was with Signature Health and working specifically at Jefferson High School with they had I think they called it the multi-categorical unit, but it was kids who had a lot of primarily mental health problems, which created behavior problems, which created learning problems. So we worked very intensely with those kids. With with a wonderful Conneaut teacher, Sally Campbell. Yeah, she was Sally Loomis. And when that program ended, I came back into the office, and Jonathan, the CEO, Jonathan Lee, asked me to do some community liaison work. And so it was kind of, I think, marketing in the beginning, but it really grew into something that helped us embed in the community and really be a part of all kinds of things.
I know that the juvenile court is much different than it used to be. And rather than sending people off to locking them up, one of the things they would do is that they were located in the basement of Ashtabula City Hall, the Key Bank building, and they could just march people across the street to your office.
Yes, and they did, and they do. Yes, yeah, because those are families that are struggling. There's something going on. You know, kids don't behave miserably unless they're miserable. So a lot of that acting out, was the result of. We talk about the ACEs scoring, the adverse childhood experiences, and the impact that has on children and families, and those children who grow up having experienced that trauma and now are raising their own families and
doing the same stuff sometimes.
So yeah. So that's juvenile court has made an amazing turnaround in the way they approach working with these families. They're having some great successes.
Yeah, rather than just you did this or that, and so we're going to just throw you in jail or juvenile lockup and figure out what to do with you later. It's maybe try to figure out what's going on right away.
Yes.
So you also, first along those lines, is it worse now? Or
what worse now?
The problems with kids. You see more kids with depression, kids with behavioral problems, kids getting into trouble, or is it better or about the same? Quick analysis here.
That's tough. We're aware and more sensitive to, maybe there's something underlying. Maybe this isn't just a bad kid or bad behavior. Maybe there's some meaning there. We need to get to the bottom of that. So I think we're more aware of it, and more people are seeking services. And then we had COVID, which has created a lot of mental and emotional stress on all of us.
I was going to ask how the county has weathered COVID with all of this, because I'm sure that there are kids that are depressed that they're not in school. They were looking forward to going to the middle school or the high school and band and everything that their older brothers and sisters did, and they're stuck in their house.
Yeah, and they're stuck in the house without resources.
Right.
Hungry. Maybe they don't have a house. They're moving in with relatives. A lot of transition and chaos. That's not good for any of us. I really think coming out of this, we're going to be seeing a lot of people seeking services. And we've weathered it well in that providers of those services very quickly found ways to continue providing services.
Probably quicker than they ever thought they could, I think.
We used to talk about doing more telehealth and, what would it take to make that happen, and waiting for laws to be changed to allow for that. And, in 3 days we did it.
That's right. Yeah. Because you had to.
Yeah. So all that stuff happened at light speed, and it's been effective. We've found that, for many people, getting to the office for that appointment was a barrier, whether it was the transportation or just their ability to get themselves in motion and have the wherewithal to get dressed and arrange that ride and get there. So for a lot of people, this may continue to be the way they receive services.
Yeah. Yep.
So it's better for some. Others are itching to get back in the office. And we are Signature Health. I still say we.
Sure.
They're still providing face-to-face services for those who wish, and specifically for those who need that kind of care.
And Signature Health does still have a office right at the Human Resource Center in Conneaut?
Yes, absolutely. And that's I made a lot of noise trying to make that happen. I thought it was important that we be in Conneaut. And of course, the first 22 or 3 years I worked out of the Human Resource Center.
Right, that's a great segue here.
Yeah, so that's the hub in Conneaut. That's where you go for any social services. So, although our friends at Community Counseling Center have opened an office in Conneaut as well.
Right downtown.
Mm-hmm.
If you're old enough, you remember when it was Newberry's.
Yeah.
Not that I am.
Bobby. Yeah.
Gail Castrilla is our guest. But you worked at the Human Resource Center, and you created the Right Track program there. So what got you the idea of doing that? And tell us what it is also.
Okay, well, it was an after-school and summer program for, not specifically for at-risk kids, but that's who I was thinking about in the beginning. We began offering the free lunches. It wasn't us, but the Community Action or Children's Services, a number of organizations have sponsored those over the years, but we started providing free lunches in the summer. And, you don't have to be a genius to see that kids are lining up an hour before lunch is served. Lunch is over. We can't get them out the door. They had found a safe place to gather, and they were happy there. So I suggested to our director, Shirley Oxley, why don't we provide some programming? And she said, we don't have any money, we don't have any staff, so go ahead and do it. She was a yes person,
yeah.
I like that. I think it was the Rotary Club that gave us a few $100s that first year, and didn't have a clue really what we were doing or what we should be doing, but we just listened to the kids. We listened to what they wanted and needed. And after the second summer, the Mental Health Board identified the value in the program and funded it so that we could do it after school as well. So it was year round. And that's really probably the thing I'm most proud of out of 44 years is developing that program. It was great.
Well, you were a forerunner there. I mean, people came to you then and said, how do you do this? We heard about this program in Conneaut, and we'd like to do something.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah.
So they came, you were the go-to person with that.
Well, probably other people knew lots more way before I did, but locally, yeah, I think we stumbled onto something that, really worked well.
There were kids that were latchkey kids. Their mothers were now working. Where in the 60s
Right.
They were at home, so they would go home to an empty house.
Yeah. So it was a safe place for kids to be. It was like I used my mom thinking hat about what do they need? Well, they need somebody to welcome them when they get out of school and be happy to see them and give them a hug and give them a snack and make them sit down and do their homework and then play. We did something called Community Circle, which I thought was a really important part of our day. Every day there, we literally sit in a circle on carpet squares on the floor, and we had a topic, something that we talked about, and it was all about social and emotional intelligence, although we didn't really call it that at that time. It was just helping them learn to be good people and care about each other and respect themselves and hopefully be happier and healthier.
So does anybody ever come up to you now and say, I remember that, or thank you, or you ruined my life? Or
I have had adults, full-grown adults, say, I remember you from Right Track. And I think, let's see. Some of them I can recognize, not all of them. But it's always nice to talk to them. Yeah, it's fun.
Could you divorce yourself from everything that was going on at work when you got home, or did you spend the evening trying to solve this person's problems or that person's problems?
I think for most people in this kind of work, it's not what you do, it's who you are, right?
Okay.
It's your nature. And so, yeah, it was always, working after hours and thinking about people and, trying to find strategies that would be more effective. I love program development. I've always had fun with that. So, any chance I've had the opportunity to do those kinds of things, that's, it's just, it's always in my head.
Well, we've got about a minute left, but I would think that the longer the more experience you had, it's like, I've got this problem, maybe what I did with George in 2013 might work here, or something like that.
Yeah. But you always want to, buy a new tool, right?
Right.
So you got a big toolbox, and so there's constant learning, and the field has developed so much over my career. In the 70s when I started, we had just decided maybe it's not a good idea to lock people up in state hospitals and keep them there for the rest of their life.
Yeah.
So that whole idea of starting to think about this as an illness and recognize what's going on in the brain.
And we are out of time. So.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Sorry.
All right. No, that is fine. But they're going to cut us off. Gail Castrilla, thank you very much.
Oh, thank you, Bobby Linselder.
Bye. I'm Bob Lubzelder on Perspectives.